Games with Jeff. Last time when I discussed Survival Hunter and BFA, I focused on what I liked about the spec. You can find a link to that video in the description if you're interested. I admit, when I first heard about the changes, that is, the new hybrid nature of survival and the removal of Mongoose Bite as a central mechanic to the spec, I thought the devs were making a bad move. But now I'm not so sure. Although the new spec is indeed a bit too simple in its current state, it's still a lot of fun. Raptor Strike and Kill Command work well together, and when Kill Command has an extra charge, the player has a bit of flexibility in making sure they don't cap focus. The ranged, survivalist-themed abilities like Wildfire Bomb and Chakrams are visually appealing and they feel good to use. It's fun to root an enemy, disengage, and then use your aspect so you can fully DPS from range while the enemy tries to reach you. But despite these positive aspects of the spec, there are still reasons for worry. The primary concern I have right now is related to AoE. There is only one baseline AoE ability, and that's Wildfire Bomb. Beyond that, there is a talent row that supports AoE. The player can either buff Serpent Sting and make it fire arrows at 3 targets instead of 1, buff Wildfire Bomb and give it an extra charge, or take Butchery for melee damage. The problem I have here is that Butchery is the only choice in this tier that gives the player a real AoE rotation. Say for instance that the player selects the talent that buffs Serpent Sting. In an AoE fight, the player will maintain the dot, and then use single target abilities until it's time to refresh the dot. It takes multiple tab targets to spread the dot among large groups. With the talent that buffs Wildfire Bomb, the player gets an extra charge and it does more initial damage, but the rotation is still the same. Cast Wildfire Bomb, keep up the dot, and fill in with single target abilities. Butchery is the only talent that actually adds to the rotation. When taking this talent, the rotation will involve maintaining the dot, using Wildfire Bomb on cooldown, spamming Butchery, and keeping focus up with Kill Command. The rotation with Butchery just feels so much more complete and impactful. There are a number of ways that the devs could fix the problem as I see it. One way would be making Butchery baseline and switching the Butchery talent to instead buff Butchery. So baseline Butchery might have a longer cooldown than it does now, or it might deal less damage, or perhaps only have 2 charges, but then selecting the talent could buff it in one or all of these areas. This would help make the AoE rotation more fluid and engaging, while still allowing players to pick their favorite ability to be the workhorse for AoE damage. Another option might be to add a cooldown reduction to the Wildfire Bomb talent, or to make it also increase the damage of the dot that it leaves. Wildfire Bomb is a bit hard to aim now because it deals damage in a cone though, and the talent as it is seems clearly worse than the other 2 options. The extra charge it gives is nice, but it's not really a DPS increase unless the player is really bad at using Wildfire Bomb on cooldown with 1 charge. Based on how the spec plays, and the fact that I often run out of focus and have nothing to do, I don't think using Wildfire Bomb on cooldown will be a problem for most players. The other problem I alluded to above, and that's the fact that the player will eventually run out of focus while performing the standard single target rotation. It actually took me a while to notice this, because while questing and out in the world, the player tends to kill enemies before the problem becomes apparent. After using all of your abilities and applying your dot, there isn't much to do besides build focus with Kill Command and spin it with Raptor Strike. What happens is that eventually everything is on cooldown, the boss is dotted, you are waiting for Kill Command to come back up, and you're out of focus. This is a problem for a few reasons. The first is that survival has a fast-paced rotation without much downtime, and so having a period where you have to wait a few seconds for Kill Command or Wildfire Bomb or Chakrams to come off cooldown just feels really strange. The second is that it's likely not intentional, and will probably adversely affect the damage that survival is able to output. Since the spec isn't popular right now, the devs need to be careful and make sure that it does comparable damage with the other Hunter specs to build interest and hopefully attract a few players into maining the spec in Battle for Azeroth. Those are the main issues I see with the spec right now. I also feel like single target rotation is a bit too easy considering how difficult it was in Legion, arguably the most complicated DPS spec that expansion. I'd like to see a little bit more added to the baseline kit, perhaps 1 more baseline ability, and a bit more interplay between the different abilities. Wildfire Bomb and Serpent Sting don't feel like they interact with Raptor Strike and Kill Command very much, and I'd like to see something there. Overall though, I'm still very excited about Survival Hunter and Battle for Azeroth, and I hope you are too. Thanks for watching folks, and have a great day.